Hi, everyone. This is Anthony Otero, community lead at HR University. And today we have as our special guest Susan Reveles, HR Director at the BXNG Group.
Mhm.
And Susan is going to talk to us to this week on our series of HR story series. Susan, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks. So, Susan, so definitely want to start off a little bit about. Can you tell us about kind of your career journey, kind of where you started, um, and then how you transitioned to HR?
Sure, of course. So I'll start in about the year 2000, which is a long time ago. So I started in the fitness industry in 2000, working as a director of member services, merging three companies together. Due to an acquisition, so taking all of their policies, standards, procedures, and formalizing them into one big company. So really understanding, database and connecting with people and doing all that to assimilate the three companies together. So continued on to my journey, stayed in the fitness industry for about 10 years. Um, and then left obviously all of my experience on the corporate side during that time, either member services, financial services, or I did and then the last thing I did was operations. So I was the director of operations for the boxing club who I work for now. When I left in 2010, decided to go into a career in retail. Worked for Starbucks as a general manager. Was hired on in that role, um, and continued to build my uh, experience in operations. And that was a tremendous journey. Starbucks is one of the best companies, and I learned so much from them in that 13 years. And I mean, as many people know, Starbucks is all about people. They take care of their employees, as they call partners. It's one of the most important aspects of the general manager's position to ensure that the partner experience is just as great as the customer experience. So that's something I took a lot of pride in. Cultivating a good team, ensuring that they were being developed. Something that just was a part of who I was as a person.
Hmm.
And then, I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2021 after the pandemic. Really decided to reflect on, my personal purpose, which is to bring joy, love, joy, and progress to all, including myself. And so, after 13 years of being at Starbucks, really thought that I hadn't really moved the needle with regards to progress for myself, as far as developing in different roles. I did learn a lot, of course, but I just felt like I needed to be challenged differently.
Okay.
So, you know, obviously, a greater sense of gratitude and appreciation for life really can put a perspective on what you're doing and spending all your time, uh, who you're spending all your time with. So I decided that I wanted to go back to fitness,
Okay.
because that's something that is I'm incredibly passionate about. It's something I believe in. I think it's incredibly important and valuable for the world, and I just want to ensure that I could be a part of that again. So I reached out to the current owner of the company that I work for, the boxing club, and he was actually one of the coaches that used to work for the company when I was there prior. So he knew me, he knew about my experience, he knew how I worked. So he pretty much gave me the opportunity to choose a role that I wanted. And considering he understood that I have a deep background in operations, knew that I'd be a great fit for HR. And so now I'm here. And that's
Okay.
something that I really was grateful for. I really think that this is definitely a great match as far as company, as far as what my experience and as well as my knowledge, just it applies really well.
Wow. Wow. That's definitely quite a story, and definitely the industries you are working or have worked are high touch industries with people, whether it's fitness or or retail. Can you just walk us through kind of when you made a pivot, that what made you think, or just for our audience, whether it's a kind of your personal journey of making a lot of folks sometimes talk about work life balance, but many times it's work life integration, and that seemed to kind of take part of your decision making,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
and whatnot. Just kind of help the audience and under kind of walk us through that process. Kind of, what I feel like I would like to make a career pivot, and kind of what about HR interests you, kind of like where you were in your place in life.
Well, I mean, so like I said, my personal purpose is to bring love, joy, and progress for all, right? So, and a big part of that is progress, and progress, whatever I can do to support the progress of whether, it's an individual or a company or myself. So, when I reached out to the owner of the company, and I knew that the objective was for this company to become a national brand. And
Sure.
so, I like to build. And so building is a part of, really uh, what fills my cup as well. So, working for Starbucks, as amazing as the company was, and as I helped open new stores and do all that, but it's just not the same as building a company from the ground up, which I had a part in when I first came into the fitness industry. So, really being able to utilize my skills in my skill set, as well as uh, have a different perspective. I think that's what really uh, kind of pushed me into the direction of HR. So, really taking care of the employee is what was my objective. I've
Okay.
been on the customer facing side for so many years. I mean, 20 plus years,
Hmm.
and being able to now have a greater impact, because obviously in the end you're impacting the customer when you impact the employee. So that's kind of what my perspective was, and why the pivot, is I wanted to impact on a greater scale. So having my team prior, at Starbucks, was just the team that was within my four walls, not necessarily company wide. And so coming here, on this, as the HR director on this level, I have such a greater reach.
Okay.
And that was, to me, if I was going to take an HR role, which that's what the objective was, I wanted to be able to have a great reach, not just kind of like a, you know, one little area or one little, location. I wanted to be able to impact, on the company level.
Okay. Um, just tell us a little bit more about your operation experience. So if we have many members in our community are career transitioners or second
Mhm.
careers,
Yep.
such as yourself.
Mhm.
What skills you've learned in operations that you think are translatable in HR?
Well, I mean, the first thing is being able to be empathetic, right? Because if you
Sure.
don't know, if you've never experienced what the people on the ground, or the employee has experienced, especially with regards to operations, if you're in a retail environment, if you don't know what happens, you know, within the company's day-to-day operations, you really have a harder time not only developing training, developing, reward systems, uh, and just understanding perhaps why an issue may be occurring. I would say it's not, you're not as at an advantage point. It's kind of a disadvantage not understanding operations, or at least experiencing it, I should say. And I think that's, for me, what is a huge, uh, I'd say, asset for my tool bag. I mean, being able to understand like what they go through, and also being able to step in and roll my sleeves up and be a part of operations if I need to. And that's also something I think it commands a lot of respect. So like my skill set of being able to just step right in if I need to is also valuable for the employee, because they can see, oh, that she's our HR director, but she can go and, restock the bathroom if I need to, or take out the
Sure.
trash, or check in a member, or answer the phone, whatever I need to do. So I'm a part of the team. I'm not above that. So that's just something I've always, valued. So I think that those skills are incredibly translatable and help build respect within the community of the company.
Absolutely. Definitely lends credibility.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, can you talk to us a little bit more about your scope of responsibilities as HR director, whether it's square feet,
Uh-huh.
FTEs, or areas of HR?
Well, I mean, I don't have any direct reports. I mean, we're a small company.
Okay.
We have 4 locations. We're a startup,
Okay.
so I oversee obviously the 155 employees in the HR perspective.
Great.
um I mean, I'm responsible, but I also wear multiple hats. So I actually help with facilities management, and I help with there's a lot of different areas that I participate in, accounting, whatever we need to do here. And that's just kind of, we're a combat sports gym. So
Okay.
we fight through everything, literally. And so whatever we need to
Okay.
do, and whatever, if you need to pick up the slack, you need to do that. That's just a part of being a part of a startup company, right? So I do payroll, I do benefits, like literally everything having to do with HR.
Got it. How is so? How is it being a department of one? There are many, companies that have, a sole, HR leader, department of one. How has that been for you?
um I mean, there's weeks that it's a lot, like right, like this week.
Okay. Okay.
Not gonna lie.
Appreciate your honesty. Okay.
Mays, I don't know why, but the last 3 Mays have been really not, the last 2 Mays have been very challenging. I don't know why. May is just a month, right? So, um, yeah, this week, I mean, I'll give you a little color to the story. But we had 2 managers walk out of the 6, or of the 8 managers that we have.
Yeah.
We had, it was we just finished payroll, so coming off the heels of that. And then, I'm actually co-GM at a location right now, just to help support a brand new manager. Let's see. It's been a week. But I'm sorry, I completely, I think I completely lost your question.
No, 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 no. I said, how is it being an
Oh,
HR
Department of
department
what?
of one? No, and it's listen, it's totally fine, right? I mean, definitely when you're a startup company, the it is not for everyone, right?
Mhm.
I think there's pros and cons of uh, a large company, a small company, but definitely you seems that you lead into your operational expertise to
Mhm.
fill in for the business,
Mhm.
when needed. Um, how do you just kind of for a lot of our members in our community also are HR departments of one, kind of walk us through your approach in terms of upskilling? Like, how do you upskill in terms of staying current with kind of HR literature, laws? Kind of, so, what do you try to do?
I mean, I read newsletters. I mean, that's a big part of it, like reading. And then I have a couple other friends who are actually in HR as well. We
Okay,
kind
that's
of
helpful.
share best practices, and if we find out something, we kind of share with each other. Plus, we have an attorney who we consult with, so her and I meet on a regular basis, just to, like, if there's some laws that are, that I need to be updated on, she typically will help me with that. We actually, with through ADP, I know we have like an HR service that we can like run things past them if we need advice, which I've
Yep.
never used yet. But I mean, I'm pretty much how I stay in the loop, reading.
And that's fine. And I think different business models require different things. In terms of support.
Mhm.
And there's not one way um, to for a function to support the business. It depends on you know how large the business is or small, and it may not fit for you. May not fit for it.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit earlier about staffing. You alluded to staff. This, right? Um, Tell us a little bit about your approach about talent acquisition. Definitely seen you being active on social media in terms of
Mm-hmm.
recruiting. What's your philosophy on recruiting?
Um, well, I mean, my philosophy has always been, to hire the personality and the person that will fit best for the team and the brand. And of course, obviously, the skill set is, a part of that. But I would say, I would rather teach you the skills, because I can't teach you the core values, and I can't teach you, the personality, and all of those pieces that we need uh, to be successful. Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say that that's definitely my philosophy on that.
Okay. And then in terms of, so that's actually kind of your philosophy in terms of hiring, but what about in terms of like recruiting strategy? You've seen
Yeah.
your social media. Are you do walk-ins? Like, what's, it depends on the
Well, I
role.
mean, it's everything from grassroots, recruiting to, going into like other competitors, and kind of, I mean, talking to people about, the boxing club, and, trying to get them to at least come and check us out.
Yeah,
But also, I'd say a part of that is, I obviously the standard LinkedIn and Indeed and all of those, where we do our just basic ads. But also, I'm a part of different fitness organizations that do a lot of certifications. So like
okay,
NPTI, IDEA, NASM, ACE, all of the different organizations. Like we have some partnerships with them as well, where we can get whether somebody who just was certified, or their alumni to come, and if they're looking for roles. With combat sports, it is a lot more challenging, because we are very specialized, and
sure,
the caliber of coach that we hire, you have to be a professional, either a current professional uh, fighter,
sure.
or a somebody who's competed at a high level, somebody who's retired, or a prior coach. So the authenticity piece is what differentiates our brand from other combat sports brands, as well as like our luxury field. But the authenticity of our coaches is one of our most important values. So it does pose a bit of a challenge. So referrals, I'd say, is probably one of our biggest methods of at least gaining our combat coaches. And so, surprisingly, though, we have gotten some great results from just like LinkedIn and Indeed, and those aspects, or those avenues, um,
Okay.
which you wouldn't be think is common in combat sports. But fortunately, it's been a little more common than as we needed.
Oh, great. So definitely, in the boxing club, I mean, right, I'm just gonna presume if you're a member,
Hmm.
you talk about you're enrolling for the experience with
Hmm.
whom, right? I would presume.
Exactly.
Um, Talk a little bit about kind of how do you balance, kind of, operations, and then also having a positive, supportive work environment
Mhm.
for the staff. So you're right, because sure that would resonate towards the members.
Correct. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that.
I mean, I think one of the biggest things about our brand is we build community. So building community within our coach, you know, population, is really integral to our, like, the ecosystem of the company. So if you look at our different locations, like, in building a community that the coaches are cohesive and can help each other, really translates to the members, because because we're trying to do the same thing with our members, right? And in fitness, that's something, as a club, you want to build community, because you want people to come back, and we want people to use the gym. We want
Right.
people to be here and see their friends, so that they come back tomorrow, and create that loyalty
Mm,
aspect. So it's the same philosophy with our coaches. Being that it is combat sports, it kind of inherently comes with the territory. That's just how combat sports behaves. It is a community of like-minded individuals, all those sayings. But I'd say that's something that we try to cultivate, not only continuous development and community, and really living our core values, because our company's purpose is to build long-term rewarding careers for coaches. I mean, literally,
Nice.
that's what company's purpose.
Okay. Um, Susan, want to talk a little bit more about um, your background. Certainly we got to, um, you know, and reviewing your profile. You talked about in your profile about running for office once upon a time. Just talk a little bit about any lessons learned there, and how do you approach leadership or HR as a result
Mhm.
of
So, in I would say a lot of that's honestly stem from being a part of my values is really being involved with the communities. Ever since I want to say in high school,
that? Okay.
I was really heavily involved in um, like Anti-Defamation League and other community leagues and clubs, and student government, where I would really be involved with the community. So that was important to me, and I continue to pursue that. I have my whole entire life, whether it's volunteering, um, or whatever the case may be. But working at Starbucks, that's something that they have a tremendous effort in. And so being a community champion and being somebody who really integrated the company within the community was something that we took a lot of pride in, and did a lot of work around. So I'd say that's where I was able to continue to develop those relationships, and foster my own I guess need for fulfillment in that area. So we always would do different activities, and try to get volunteers together within different organizations. So I started to learn and touch base and get to know a lot of different nonprofit organizations, where that kind of started to segue into being more involved in my own community. And then during the pandemic, I think it was after the George Floyd incident, I just was like, I need to have a greater impact. I want to be able to have a voice, and I want to be able to help have a voice for the people that potentially are don't have that. So I looked up different things that I could do to help. And I happened upon, like, well, running for office, and let's see how much it costs and what it takes to do this. And it
Mhm.
was a lot less work than I actually thought it would be to actually get on the ballot. So
Oh wow.
to get on
Okay.
the ballot, it's $25, 20 signatures. I live in a small city in San Diego County. So and of course it wasn't just about that, though. It was about I started to talk to people in the community, and be involved more in different organizations. I did several drives for a nonprofit, like canned food drive, blanket drive, all those kind of things. I did a um, like a register to vote drive, voter
Okay.
registration drive, around the election time. And it's just, whatever I could do to support in that way. But my objective was, I ran for city council so that I could, help. I live in a community that's mostly Hispanic. It's about 95% Hispanic. And
Okay.
the representation on the city council is I'd say one. I mean, I think we have one of the five people uh, is Hispanic. So
Oh,
I
okay.
wanted to help support that. Um, so I took a shot and ran. I didn't win, but that didn't discourage me. I continued to pursue other, opportunities to get involved in the community and continue to get my name out there. I did run for the water district as well, just to keep my name on the ballot. But I actually just had somebody ask me a couple days ago if I had planned to run this year, which and then I was like, okay, well, I'll kind of look into it again. So I may look into it, because I know that the uh, nomination period starts in a couple of weeks here. So
Nice.
potentially.
And so, Susan, I think you have this consistent theme of wanting to serve,
Hmm. Definitely.
whether it's a community or even, in your role, whether it's a business,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know, so that does seem consistent. So definitely wanted to,
Hmm.
get your take on that. I wanted to go back to early in the conversation,
Hmm. Hmm.
how you transitioned from your former role at Starbucks to the HR director of BX Boxing Club. And you talked about you knew the current owner, but it seems that you had a previous relationship over the years. Can you talk to our community, I guess, about networking? You also mentioned it in terms of staying up to date. Kind of a HR tribe with
Yep.
your friends outside of your current job,
Hmm.
because I think that's important for our community to hear about networking. Well, what say you?
Well, I mean, there's different methods. Obviously, I would say like a big part, especially working in fitness. Again, I'm going to say that I built a strong community when I first started within the industry in 2000. And it's a small industry. Like, I mean, it seems big if you think about it from an outside perspective. But the key players in the industry tend to end up staying in the industry because that's their passion.
Sure.
So I'd say, the people that I started with, back then have expanded into incredible roles. And so keeping myself, connected to them in some respect, because, I just am always the type of person that wants to build a relationship with somebody, whether it's small or they, and I tend to keep that relationship uh, fairly positive and fairly well. So I would say, keeping tabs and keeping connected to people who you feel that are that will be influential within their own business is I feel incredible. Like I've had a lot of great leaders that I've worked with, um, but I'd say it's really being genuine. I mean, when it comes down to it, building networks is about being genuinely who you are. And when people feel that they can trust you, that's when you're going to start to you'll build your network just based off of your own ability to build that relationship and that trust. And I'd say that's a big part of just starting within, at least in a work capacity, when you uh, work for a company, just start building those relationships. But outside of that, like that's how I actually have friends in HR as well, because they have they're like-minded in that way.
Right.
And also, I did reach out to a couple different organizations, HR organizations, and built a couple friendships here and there. But again, it's how you carry yourself and who you are, and is how you can really build that trust and respect among people, and um, that can really support a great career.
Great, great. I just have a few final questions for you.
Sure.
Want to get your thoughts. What are any HR related initiatives that you're proud of, you've initiated, or you've supported?
I mean, well, at Starbucks, that was just not going to happen. But here, at least, I mean, I've helped support the introduction of a quarterly self care day,
Okay.
stuff like that, where we it helps just it's no strings attached kind of day. Like, you just what day you need, um, you just take it. And that was something we really needed here. And then I think just helping rebuild some of the policies that they had in place when I arrived, but not anything substantial yet. Still in the works.
Okay. So I like that. So, kind of, how did the idea came up? Did you kind of make an assessment? You talk with the leadership team. How did
Well,
this go about?
yeah, we didn't really want to, necessarily add more PTO, because I think a lot of times people think, PTO, like I have to save it for when I have a big vacation, or, instead of just like, oh, I'm going to take a day off. Because I personally would, that's how I kind of approach, I'll take a vacation here and there, but I approach PTO more so for self-preservation, and being able to take a day here and there whenever I need to during the week, not only to potentially get some errands done or something so that I can free up my weekend, but or
Right.
just to, like, go to the beach.
Just
And
cause, right?
yeah, yeah, I mean, there's just days that you need that. And so I think that was kind of the philosophy behind that. It is the policy is use it or lose it,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
once a quarter. So I mean, it's valuable that, it kind of creates a sense of urgency behind, like, hey, like, take a day for yourself, like, um and you can't combine it with other days besides maybe a weekend. But um yeah, that was kind of the philosophy of that.
Very nice, very nice. And how has it been received?
Oh, I mean, it was great. And people, I mean, I have to remind people still to use it. And I make sure to do that just because I do want them to take that day. Um,
Sure.
but I mean, yeah, people are grateful for that for sure.
Great, great. And then Susan, last question. Can you tell us, in your opinion, now that you were on the other side, the
Mhm.
you know, um, non-HR, now you're in HR, so now you're sitting in the seat as a leader. Talk about what do you think are the essential skills for thriving as an HR professional?
I mean, I think understanding the balance. I'd
Okay.
say that's a. I don't know if that's a skill or what that looks like, but for everybody. But being able to balance building relationships, but also preserving the integrity of the company. So it's definitely a balancing act. Because I do, like I said, pride myself in building relationships with people, but within reason, and making sure to really clearly help people understand that I'm there for them. Like that, I think uh, it's a skill that you really have to be able to work on, as being able to communicate that um, without sounding like, as like playing favorites or whatnot. I think empathy and uh, genuine connection is something that over the years I've honed in on, and I'd say is a skill that really helps me in this role.
Great, great. Then just just a few more seconds about
Sure, sure,
what do
you're
you
fine.
mean in terms of being available? What does that look like?
I mean, being available in the respect of, if I'm going to give you my attention, I'm giving you my full attention. I'm
Sure.
not, doing three other things at the same time, or I'm going to dedicate time to, like, when I do HR office days, where I'll go into a location
Mhm.
and I'll let them know ahead of time I'm here all day. You don't have to set up a time or a meeting. You can just show up, so that it kind of leaves out that intimidation factor.
Right.
Just show up and just come and talk to me. If I can talk to you about development, I can talk to you about training, I can talk whatever
Mm,
you want to talk about. Or if you need help personally, like I have, some people who potentially need help, like single parents that are just needing some extra help finding resources, or
I
so
see.
that's also my community, like what being a part of the community helps me help other people. So I always tell people, you're a human, and I'm going to help you be a human, and as well as an employee. So
Very, very, very cool. Very cool. Susan, it was a pleasure getting a
thank you.
chance to meet you and learn more about what you do.
Mhm,
It definitely provided a different perspective in terms
mhm.
of the industry, and I'm sure our community appreciated someone that's a non-HR person getting into HR.
Yeah,
So for everyone in the webinar, it can be done. Actually, I do have a bonus question for you.
sure.
Sorry. um, Kind of folks who are non-HR folks who are scared to take the jump, what will be your kind of your rallying cry? What will be your pep talk
I mean, if
to get
it's
them to
really,
pursue it?
if it's truly something that you believe in, that's in your heart, like that you need to take care of people within an organization, this is the way to do it. Like if being a leader, like a manager, is of course amazing, but taking a step into a role where you can, like I said, have a bigger reach, and help people understand how to be transformational, and how to really be better leaders themselves. Not only not only impacting like all the employees, you're also impacting their leaders. So if that's what your objective is, then I'd say definitely uh, take that leap.
Okay. Okay. Sounds great. Susan, thank you so
Mhm.
much.
Thank you.
And you have a great evening. Take care,
You
everyone.